Hello and welcome to another video, another one today looking at common rules mistakes. I've looked at some FAQs and I've looked at some Discord threads and I've got together a list of common mistakes or common questions, and hopefully today we can learn something. Or alternatively, get the rules wrong together. So rule number one today is the veteran skill. The first part about veteran skill that you probably know about already is that it makes you immune to loss of lieutenant, which is really good. Some factions like Morats and so on have it, so they've got so much veteran going around that basically the lieutenant dying no one cares about. The other part about it, which I forget about, and I know that when playing some games others do as well, is that being a veteran makes you functionally immune to being isolated. This is really useful, of course, if you're hit by, for example, an EM grenade. Even if you aren't heavy infantry and therefore you can't be hacked as easily, an EM grenade normally, of course, will still isolate you. If you are a veteran, you can't be isolated, and that means your order can't become irregular. And that's really good to remember, because being isolated is rubbish. You know, you can't give your order to the order pool of your combat group, and also you can't get orders from them. So being a veteran can be really good. Mines. I'll go through the things first that are more obvious, or at least the rules that I got wrong more when I was playing for the first time. First of all, of course, dodging mines is a -3 physique rule. So if you've got dodge of say 12, dodging a mine, dodge it on a 9. If you're a camo marker, a mine will still go off. So even though you're in a marker state, it does trigger a mine. Meanwhile, if you're an impersonator, like you've got a kill hacking device, or you're Fidei or someone with impersonation, that mine won't go off because the mine thinks you're, Bob from accounting, and it thinks you're friendly, and therefore it won't go off. One thing I saw recently on the Infinity Global League Discord is that if you have Sixth Sense, that does ignore the -3 to dodge, which is something I didn't know about till recently. Okay, so a few extra bits about mines there. Again, I put the page number somewhere up there, and hopefully that'll help you look it up a little bit. The Sixth Sense interaction was a bit of a weird one that I've seen fairly recently, so hopefully that'll help you out a little bit. Other than that, remember that you have to make sure you can't put the mine down if there's a camouflage marker in the trigger area. So, for example, even the mines do go off if a camo marker goes past their trigger area, the zone of control of the mine. If, for example, you're next to a camo marker and it's an enemy marker, you can't put a mine down there. Okay. You can do it with an intuitive attack, but you can't put one down without that, which is important to remember. The next one, I think mainly is a rule I've sort of uncovered and looked at more when it comes to playing on TTS. So the next rule, rule 3, is climbing over things that are lower than your silhouette. First of all, it might sound pretty obvious. You got like a low crate. Your silhouette 2 marker can crawl over it. For example, you might have your Margie Brigade, your Maggie hiding behind a flower pot to get cover, and of course, flower pot's small, the Maggie is huge, you can climb over it. But sometimes it can go a bit strange, and it might not be particularly obvious to you. And I know we've seen some maps when making them for IGL with doorways that technically tag can just leap clear over. It's probably best to show you now on TTS rather than here, because I haven't got a building to hand or a tag to hand the next door, and I can't bother to get up. Let's look. So here we go. Here is a map from our recent IGL Season 1. And what best way to talk about a tag than have a lovely pano tag, a lovely cutter here. So here's a map with lots of walls, and the cutter has a large silhouette, of course, silhouette 7 there. And turn its marker on. Of course, here the cutter can actually leap over this wall right here. I mean, there's a door here, admittedly, but it might be can't fit through the door because the door's probably smaller than half its silhouette value. But it can actually climb over the wall because its silhouette, as you can see, is higher than it. Okay, so it might not appear to be jumpable because it's quite high, but it can leap majestically over this wall. But one thing that's worth bearing in mind is that even though it can leap over it, it will count as being on this for its movement. Okay, you don't measure the vertical movement over it, but you do count as being on top of it for shooting purposes. So everyone will be able to see you from basically this point here, pretty much, which of course is probably the entire board. So vaulting is not just low objects, it's also ones that are much higher than that. Mistake number 4 is, of course, not subscribing. Okay, if you don't subscribe, you won't get this average content delivered to you, and that is probably the worst thing you can do. It's worse than getting rules wrong in Infinity by a long way. So rule 4 is, of course, remembering to subscribe to the channel. Finally, it is the willpower mods for isolated and immobilized. Again, when I'm playing a lot of JSA, playing against some people here at home, this rule came up a few times, and it's quite a grim combination, so it's worth mentioning here. And that is the mods to willpower to reset if you're isolated and immobilized. Again, mainly for EM weapons here, because of course if you're heavy infantry and you get hit by an EM grenade, you're both isolated and immobilized B at the same time. So a reset, of course, is a -9 modified to willpower to reset. Okay, -9. Okay, really bad news. An engineer nearby can fix it with an order, well worth it. Otherwise, you're in for a bad time. Immobilized B, either from being hacked by Carbonite or by Carbonite's Eye or by a EM grenade, is a -3 modifier. So, you know, plucky little Domaru throws an EM grenade at you, hits you with that attack, you are -12 to reset. That's -9 for being isolated and -3 for being immobilized. Not great for you, great for Domaru. Okay, so those mods stack, and I've had a few people playing against me in the past who didn't fully know that, or thought it was one mod, not both, and so it's worth bearing in mind because together it is horrible. So that's it, some rules for you. Hopefully that was informative. Have any other rules you think are often mistaken or gotten wrong, or heaven forbid I've got some wrong here? Hopefully not, because of course getting them wrong in a rules video would be quite bad. Let me know underneath here on the comments, and I'll get to it whenever I can do. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'll see you later.